Today's video is very simple. I want to share with you guys 3 of the major things I learned after making $30 million in my career. And one of the biggest takeaways I had from these lessons is it doesn't really matter whether you have millions of dollars or not. These lessons really apply to everyone in life. And if you guys are new to the channel and curious how I made my money, this is the Bluprint channel where I give you advice on how to be a creator. But this video is a little different because we're talking about money. Because obviously, if you want to be a successful creator and make millions of dollars, you got to figure out what to do with the money after. What are you going to put it towards? What are you going to buy? You're going to buy a house? Or you're going to buy a real estate property? Whatever it is. But anyways, my name is Nathan and I've been building YouTube channels for about 12 years. And I've made over $30 million in my 12-year career. I've actually exceeded quite a bit more than that, but $30 million is a good baseline because that's what Forbes reported. But yeah, this channel is all about teaching you guys how to be YouTubers, how to be successful. It's all of my tips, all of my tricks, my strategies, my advice. I'm pouring everything into this YouTube channel. So if you want to learn how to be a creator and make content that gets millions of views, definitely be sure to subscribe. So let's jump over to lesson number 1. And I'm going to start each of these lessons with a quote. And the first quote is, "Risk comes from not knowing what you are doing. Never invest in a business you cannot understand." That is a quote from Warren Buffett. And man, let me tell you, when I have lost millions of dollars investing into things that I do not know or do not understand. I mean, think about it. Most people think the best investment they're going to make in their life is in their home. But how many of those people actually know about real estate? The market cycles, the changes, all the different things that it goes through. I started YouTube. I grew my channels for, 12 years. And obviously I was very good at making YouTube videos. And then I decided to diversify a little bit. So I went out and I bought some real estate projects. I ended up purchasing an RV park. I ended up purchasing an Airbnb property and a couple different things. And this was me investing into things I don't know and don't understand. But because I had success with YouTube, I thought to myself, oh, I can make an RV park successful. I can make this Airbnb successful. Like, sure, I know how to do it. And that's just not the case because both of these projects literally fell on their face. I had no idea what I was doing. It was a huge waste of money and time as well. I mean, years of time and money that could have been spent somewhere else. And just my biggest lesson and takeaway from that was invest in what you know. And if you don't know anything right now, then start getting good at something and constantly invest and build strengths in that category. Like, for example, I should have, instead of buying an RV park, I should have just invested that money into my channels, or I should have invested into a team that built a new YouTube channel that I could have scaled. Like, I don't know why I didn't do that. I thought I just had to diversify for whatever reason. I mean, you always hear that saying where people say, oh, every millionaire has 7 streams of income. And there's some truth to that. But the thing is to get to becoming a millionaire, you usually only have 1 stream of income. And then after you're a millionaire, you start diversifying your revenue and you start investing into different projects to, put your eggs in a bunch of different baskets. But the problem is you end up investing in projects you don't know and don't understand, and then they all fall flat on their face, so it's pointless in the end. Look, my point is that if you're going to invest in something, it should match your knowledge level. So let's say for me, I would say about 10% of my knowledge is real estate, and then maybe 90% of my knowledge is YouTube and content. So that means that 90% of my money should probably be invested into YouTube and content, and then 10% should be into real estate and projects like that. At the end of the day, your investments should be a reflection of your knowledge. That's the biggest thing I learned. Let's go to lesson number 2. Starting off with another quote, we got, "Wall Street is the only place that people ride in a Rolls Royce to get advice from people who take the subway." That is a quote from Warren Buffett again. And this is such a powerful quote because as we move through life, we take advice from people that might not be in situations that we want to be in. Or they might not have made millions of dollars, but yet we take money advice from them. When I was finally making big bucks on YouTube, I was taking advice from people that I've never even seen $1 million. And that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, think of it this way. If you go to the gym and you want to get ripped, you want to get shredded, whatever, would you pick a trainer that is overweight, out of shape, and eats terrible? No. Why would you do that? you're probably going to pick the trainer that is shredded, has the body that you want, and is super disciplined with eating really good, healthy food, right? It's the same thing with money. If you start making a decent amount of money, then you need to take advice from people that have made more money than you. At the end of the day, if someone is ever giving you advice, look at their situation. Look at what they've done. What company have they built? How much money did they make? What car do they drive? What house do they live in? And I'm not saying those things to judge people, but if you're taking advice from someone, you need to look at their situation. And the question is are they doing worse than you, or are they doing better than you? You always want to take advice from people that are further down the line from you than people that are behind you. Lesson number 3, this is a big one. There is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. Another quote from Warren Buffett. Basically what this means is it gets super dangerous when the taste of having more money, more prestige, more this, more that, faster than satisfaction. Because yes, there's a great quote that I love living by, and it's never be satisfied, right? Because you should always be reaching for more, looking for more. And that's what life is about at the end of the day. But at the same time, sometimes we reach a little too far before we are satisfied with where we are. Does that make sense? I know it's a little confusing to understand. Sometimes you feel like you're falling behind, and the only way to get ahead is to take a greater amount of risk, and that's just not the right thing to do with money. At the end of the day, the only way to be wealthy is to spend the money that you don't have. Wealth is what you don't see, and kindness, respect, love, and loyalty towards people will always go so much further than money ever will. So don't risk what you have to get more when in reality you don't actually need more. Does that make sense? That's the point I'm trying to get. And this was a big lesson that I had to understand because I was super ambitious. I was always reaching for more and more and more and more. But sometimes I had to take a step back and realize that this is not worth risking the stuff that I have right now for things that I don't actually need. All right, I'm going to give you guys one extra lesson. I said there would only be 3, but I want to give you 4 because this one is super powerful. And this is one I had to learn myself as well. I'm sure you've heard the quote, more money, more problems, right? Everyone says that, you know, hey, why would you want more money? It's only going to generate more problems, blah, 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 blah. What I've come to believe, because before I made my success or whatever you want to call it, I was living a very average life in a very average home. We were doing all right, but we weren't wealthy by any means. I mean, we didn't have money to eat out every week or anything like that, but we did have a roof over our head. We had a car, which was great. But at the end of the day, I always heard people tell me, you don't want more money. That's going to cause more problems. And what I figured out is it doesn't actually cause more problems. It actually solves a lot of problems, right? Because now I don't have to think about where I'm going to live or where I'm going to eat. I can eat whatever I want and all these things. But what it actually does is it amplifies your problems that you already have. So if you don't have money now and you all of a sudden get a ton of money, all of the problems that you have with money or around money are only going to get bigger, but you're not necessarily going to have more problems. They're just going to get bigger. So for example, if you're rude, if you're arrogant, if you're just a bad person, getting more money is just going to amplify that. Now you're going to become an even worse person. I'm sure you've heard people say like, oh man, that guy's got a nice car. He thinks he's made of everything, whatever. And they're just acting like they own the place when they pull up in a Ferrari. That person before they had money probably also was still rude, still disrespectful. And now they're just bigger. Let's say right now you only have $100 or $1,000 and you have a problem with saving money. When you get more money, that problem is only going to get bigger. Right? It doesn't matter if you have $1 million, $100,000, or $100. If you have problems with saving money, that problem is only going to amplify and get bigger and bigger and bigger over the years, they generate more and more wealth. So at the end of the day, hopefully these lessons helped you. These are huge lessons that took me years and years to learn. I learned some of them through other people, but most of them I actually learned through my own experiences. And if you guys want to learn more about my YouTube journey, my success and all that, definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel, because we're posting videos every single week for free, literally for free, where you guys can learn all of my secrets. So till then, see you next week. Also, check out this view. Just have to show it to you guys. Look at this. This is insane. Beautiful, beautiful. We're at a little vacation property for the weekend, so